Mr. Truck here with another truck review. I'm here with
Kelsey.
And we're in cold Colorado in January. And we're reviewing today the GMC Canyon, the new midsize truck that's back in the market. Pretty cool. It's Mr. Truck. We're going to go out and play with it and pull this four-wheeler with it. We've already pulled some trailers and see how it looks. This here, if you look at it from the side view, you can almost think it's a full-size truck with a crew cab. It's a 6'2" bed, which is just an inch or so shorter than what a full-size Ram has, which is amazing. We have a mid-size ATV in the mid-size truck. It's a Kawasaki Brute Force 300. Now, full-size probably wouldn't fit in there with the tailgate up, I know that, but this one does. This one fits really well, so it makes sense with a lifestyle truck like this that is used for recreation and such. So we're going to go out and ride the mountains with it. Oh yes, power. How much power do we have?
It's got 305 horsepower to 269 torque.
Great, so now we know we have enough power. This engine, actually, this 3.6 V6 is the same one came out of the Cadillac and the Envoy and several other GM products. So let's go drive.
Alrighty. Front seat's big enough. It's got lots of storage. Lots of buttons too. Pretty easy to get in and out of. And if not, they gave us a step. So there's a step to help. The only thing I wish they had is a door handle, because if I do use the step, I normally use the handle. So one for another, but good job on the step. Well, people with much longer legs than I are going to have a hard time in this back seat unless you have a very short driver or passenger to move that seat all the way forward. That'll open up some space. They do have the USB ports and the outlets back here, which is nice. And a bunch of compartments for storage. They'll haul the kids around nicely. There's storage under this seat. There's a decent amount of storage under this seat. You want to look?
Yeah, let me get in there.
Plenty of room under that seat.
Yeah. I've called this a lifestyle truck because, that's kind of the target area. I mean, sure, ranchers and farmers will be buying it. And it's it's a great truck for getting around. Made for the malls. You can actually park this truck somewhere. Where my other truck, you always got to take a couple turns to get into the parking spot. But this bed amazes me how big it is. I mean, the truck's 5 inches narrower than what a full-size truck is. But, we've got this mid-size four-wheeler in here. And we're able to close the tailgate, which I like. Now we're just going to, or Kelsey's going to set up the ramps so we can unload the Kawasaki. Cool. Yeah. Now let's see you loaded, Kelsey. Oh, good job. Now let me see you walk down the ramp again and I'll zoom in on you in the ramp. Yeah, use that foot step again and a little handle in the corner. I know you like that step. Okay, I'm ready. That makes it a lot easier getting off there using that bumper step. I love that bumper step. Cool. Okay, Kelsey, just like the full size, this has that easy drop tailgate. There's a torsion in it. That's so nice. You don't get hit in the head or any of that. Yeah, that torsion helps both ways. Cool. Kelsey, what do you think?
I like that.
That's the lights. It goes
Lights.
automatic. Yeah, this is a loaded.
Nice rubber buttons though, or knobs. And that's the four-wheel drive. Even though it's all-wheel drive, so that...
Yeah, it's got both. It's got the four-wheel drive gives you high and low range, and then all-wheel drive kicks in automatically, kind of like an SUV does. The only thing really wrong with them is that they're so close together. Sometimes and they're exactly the same size. You know, you sometimes forget which one's a four-wheel drive knob and which one's a light knob. Cool. And you got tilt wheel. Yeah, it's got all the gadgets of a full size, and this is the top of the line.
It's
GMC
nice.
Canyon. In a dash, I think this is aluminum dash, similar to what you know, the high-end GMC Sierras are. You like the touchscreen? It's a big one. So your GPS comes on pretty big right there.
A nice touchscreen, but it also has the buttons if I can't work the touchscreen. That's nice.
Yeah, and then what's this row of buttons down there?
You got the tow haul, the traction control, your hazards, your backlight for your bed, and then your hill descent.
Cool, and it's also got the heated seats, which is cool.
Medium and
We'll put it in reverse and we'll show what the backup camera looks like. Pretty cool, and then turn the steering wheel.
Oh, and it turns it for you and tells you where you're going.
Yeah, kind of nice to know where you're going.
Let's see how much stuff I could hit with this.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's head up the hill. It says automatic temperature control, all those kinds of things I really like. And then you actually have a shifter button on that side, which is cool.
So you make it a manual if you wanted to without having to shift it?
Yeah, it's always nice in the mountains. This is a 6-speed automatic. Cool. I love the red stitching on the dash. I've always been a fan of that. Yeah.
It's a very short dash though.
Short dash? I mean,
Short
you'd
dash.
rather have more room up there? Or?
That. I'm the type of person to throw all my paperwork.
Well,
and
you're not
stuff
supposed
up
to
there.
do that. You're not supposed to be like me and stack your stuff on the dash.
I know. It's convenient though. It really...
I do that too. That's part of the problem is they have a lot of the trucks I have pockets and everything else. You can stick a lot of stuff there, and then if you get an accident, you know that stuff's going to hit you in the head.
Not if my airbag gets me first.
Oh yeah, that's. Maybe the airbag will keep everything from flying all over.
You are not buckled.
Okay, I better be safe. We're all about safety. Well, goodbye, horses. We'll see you when we get back. They like the truck. They were checking it all out.
Licking it?
Yeah, they thought it tasted good. This is the SLE. So it's the top of the line. We got leather seats.
Leather steering wheel. The wheels are nice.
This is only $38,915. So, which you may think is kind of high for a mid-size. But so these mid-sizes have come a long ways. I've had a lot of what we used to call mini trucks. I've had the Ford Courier that was made by Mazda. I had a Chevy Love, which was made by Isuzu. I've had the Toyota back when they just called them trucks. I had a lot of Rangers. I've had a Mazda B2000. I really liked them because they were kind of like a motorized wheelbarrow, and they were easy to get your hand over the side, and they were like a big toolbox with wheels. It was great. And now, they've got a lot bigger, more powerful, more comfortable. That is probably the biggest drawback on this truck, and I really like this truck. I fit it so well. I'm a heavy-duty guy. I fit inside it. And I'm comfortable. It's bigger than like what a crossover is. My knees not being pressed by the center console. There's so many things I like about this truck. I like the handling of it. I think it's a little rougher riding than a full size, but on good roads it rides great. But you get really rough roads and you can tell it's just a little different. I think it's a little rougher than what a full size Sierra would be, like a 1500. But I don't understand when you get to the size of a truck, your maneuverability is great. You can park these anywhere. You can go to the malls. You can get in the garage easier. That's a big plus. But I don't understand why the fuel mileage is not better than a full size truck.
What's it at?
This one combines 20. This is with the V6. The biggest one offered is 3.6, and it gets 17 city, 24 highway. And I've gotten that much with most of all of the GM engines in a truck, in a full size, even the 6.2 with a new 8-speed. So I don't know that there's not really a big advantage fuel mileage. And I know this year the Detroit diesel's coming out. It's coming from Asia, but it is from Thailand, and it will be probably great on fuel mileage. You got to upcharge to buy that engine, but I guess that's what they're counting on. The people that really are into the fuel mileage are going to buy that diesel. But it's kind of disappointing for me to have a smaller truck and not get better fuel mileage. But oh well, that's just
that does
my
hurt.
opinion.
No, it hurts because when I use my big truck, I want to get the most out of it and haul the most out of it. And then when I use, so say like my Durango or anything, I'm using it for fuel mileage.
Sure.
Maneuverability to go places that I don't want to take the truck that costs a fortune to run.
Right, and this one here does have a 7,000 pound towing capacity, and I know it would do that well. It's got great power. I helped the fast lane truck folks the other day, and we were pulling 5,600 pounds up the mountains, and it did so well. I know 7,000 pounds would not be hard for it. We wouldn't want to do that all the time. It's not made to be towing all the time with it. So it has a lot of capability, and like we just showed, the four-wheeler fits in the back of this one. In a 6'2" bed, you can do so much with it. It's about 5 inches narrower than a full-size truck, so it's more maneuverable to do a lot of things with it, and especially city driving, city parking. But I was considering buying one of these for a second truck when I don't need to be towing the bigger loads, and it'd be easier to run around in. But I really I'd probably have to go with the Detroit or the diesel when it comes out, because I'd buy one of these and expect better fuel mileage. So enough, I'll be kicking that dead horse enough. So. But tell me how when you get to the mountains and pulling the hills, I really enjoy it. But tell me what you think about it. It fits you well. Of course, you'll fit anywhere well. I'm the heavy duty guy that has to get the seat to fit me, and this does fit me.
I really do like I don't know. I shouldn't say they're bucket seats, but the way their seats are shaped.
Well, the contour, yeah,
it is nice.
They do that. They have that little huggy thing. I guess that's supposed to hold you on the curves. This puppy.
Now, if they could only put that little vibration for the
lane changer. That's a good idea. That's a good thought. I don't remember if this has the lane departure. I'll be driving this to Utah this afternoon. I'm going to review some hitches out there, and I'll have to play with all the gadgets. But I don't see a button for it. GM usually has a standalone button for the lane departure on the bigger trucks. But I'll look into that. So I guess I'll talk more about the fuel mileage when I get back from Utah, because you get a
bunch of highway,
1,000 miles on it. Yeah, that's true, and it'll be hills and mountains and ice and snow, and that's the nice thing about this four-wheel drive setup, which is unusual for a truck. Well, I shouldn't say unusual. GM's been doing that on their full-size trucks too, on the half tons. But you've got all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Now, four-wheel drive is usually it's a nice combination. Four-wheel drive is usually more heavy duty. It's a high and low range, the way it works with the transfer case. All-wheel drive automatically engages the clutch or the transfer case automatically, so you can leave it on and it won't run when it's not needed. It will run when it is. So we're all used to that on the SUVs and crossovers. So that makes sense in the size of a truck. It's a pretty complicated transfer case when they do all that. But you got good options with that, and it's got a locking rear end. So and those are all electric locking now, which this thing should really do well in four-wheel drive. Actually, I've taken this on some hills, and I thought it was a fun off-road vehicle. You can give a package. This has the all-terrain package. I'll have to tell you more about that. That kind of like the ZR71 or whatever the Chevy one's called. It's got keyless remote. This has got all kinds of things. Stability and stability control, traction control. The brakes have really improved on General Motors. A lot of the tests we've done lately, they've come out number one on braking. So
that's nice.
Yeah, they have. They've gotten very durable on their disc brakes and their pads. But fog lights, I like fog lights. That's great going across Wyoming in the winter. you get fogged in and get snowed in and everything else. You need all the lights you can find going across Wyoming in January. Yeah, they call all that stuff soft touch. All the control buttons you do, and it's got a good feel to it. It's not like the old hard plastic days. It's
got a rubbery cover over it. It's nice.
Yeah, so it's easier on your fingers. It actually feels good. There's some of that rough road. Yeah, you can. It's interesting on these. We used to call them mini trucks. Now they're mid-size, but the early ones I had, way back in the 70s, those things would shake terribly bad. They had short springs. Then in the 80s, they started stretching them out, and just having the rear leaf springs longer made a big difference. Now, I know this one's got long leaf springs on it, but this one, I'm not exactly sure what the deal is, but it does. On a really rough road, you feel it, more so than a full size. Yeah, this all-terrain package, which is what GMC calls it. It's got the same package from Chevy, the Z71. suspension off-road. It's got the hill descent control. These big all-terrain tires, 17 inches. Wow, these seats are called jet black cobalt red cloth.
Red cloth. Where did they put the red cloth?
I'm not sure. Well, red stitching. I'm not sure why
I
they
got that
call it
red
red
stitching.
cloth.
It's pretty. That red stitching is pretty. Give them that.
Yeah. And you probably heard a lot of people that complain about that price, that $38,000, almost $39,000 price. Well, yeah.
That's a decent chunk of change when you can get, well, when you're looking at diesels or a full-size pickup, if you're going like bone stock, no upgrades, I mean, you can get pretty close to that for having an all-out.
That's true. That's a good
truck.
point.
So
That's a very good point, Kelsey. Yeah,
that's where it's hard.
That's the comparison. Yeah, if you were buying a base truck and a heavy duty and a diesel and all that, you can get very close to this price in a work truck. But if you go get a loaded like a Denali, and this would be, and a diesel now we're $65,000. If it was even a 3/4 ton Denali with all the toys, I'm sure you'd be $45,000 to $50,000.
Yep.
So it's like we all say trucks are high. Well, houses are high. Food is high.
Gas
is
low.
finally going down. So that's changed. But yeah, it all depends on what it's relative to. I think relative to a high-end half ton, this is probably about right in line. But you can get a stripped down one of these too, and then you're in that low 20s. So it's.
It all depends on what you want and what you have to have.
Right, and they've studied their demographics. General Motors has, and they'll tell us what they think of it, who's buying what, and what sells the best, and that's what they'll make the most of. It's amazing to me that this is the big market for these trucks has been California. We know Texas, #1 truck state, then it's California. Colorado's in there somewhere, but I guess people in California have been asking for midsize from General Motors, and they were out of the market for about 3 years. Maybe even Ford Ranger will come back. It seems to be it's waking people up that size of truck still has a place. I mean, it's you don't always need a full-size truck.
Well, if you've only got, so say, whether you're hauling a couple bales of hay or a small horse or a mini or small livestock, you wouldn't need a full-size truck.
That's right. That's right. And this is a crew cab. I mean, you can haul 4 adults. We want to haul them, coast to coast. But I actually fit in the back.
Yeah.
And it's much better. In the old days, on a crew cab on a mid-size or mini, you wouldn't dare put an adult back there.
Side doors and all the small children went back in there.
Yeah. And of course, the kids' seats do fit well, but you can put 4 adults in here, and this has all that connectivity, which is such a big deal. Where you can get 4G or whatever that's called for your high-speed internet, and I think you can hook up to like 6 or 7 people with these trucks, which is great. So it's the modern truck made for the lifestyles people have, and this is a lifestyle truck for the hobbyists, the people that work in town, and then a weekend they want to take their Sea-Doos and their snowmobiles and their ATVs out and have fun, or pull their boat. You can get a lot of boats under 7,000 pounds, so it works great for that. This does not offer an integrated brake controller.
No.
So I've got a hitch from IntelliHitch that we use for that, or the one electronic one that I have in the trailer. So you've got if you are going to pull a trailer and it's going to be under, say, 3,000 pounds, you don't need a brake controller. Over 3,000 pounds, you're going to need a brake controller. And I thought this towed trailer is fairly well. I mean, this is more of a truck for a 2-horse trailer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the size you want to shoot at.
Nice little aluminum 2-horse trailer.
Yeah. So how's it feel to you? Is the steering good? This is electronic rack and pinion.
I haven't had a problem with it, not so far. It's a little, how do I say it? It is stiffer than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
It takes a little more to turn it than what I'm used to.
Oh, that's interesting. Usually electronic rack and pinion is tighter, but that's interesting. That's how it feels to you, yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's because I'm used to driving my Durango or the pickup.
Yeah, the bigger trucks will have more slop, a little more play in them.
But it's nice and tight, and I don't know, when it turns, it turns. You don't have to crank on it. Its tires are quiet for being 17s.
Yeah, and they're all-terrain tires. They do have a pretty good cut in them. They're made for traction, so they've done a really good job of
keeping them quiet.
Yeah, the design is
Maybe
good.
they just insulated the doors and floor enough so we didn't hear them.
Yeah, it is a quiet cab. I really don't hear any road noise. It's a good point. It's a very quiet interior. Well, that's what's going on with these trucks. They're becoming car-like so many ways, you know, capable cars. But you still, to me, the seats are comfortable. You get into a truck, you sit in it like your dining room table chair. You're sitting upright. I climb in and out. Now this one, the hat fits me inside, but I have to take it off to get it past the A-pillar.
Yeah.
So there's not room for me really to duck and climb in. So, but I can wear it inside, and it, you know, it's like, but it's like sitting in a kitchen chair. Where cars, you know, you lay down in them, so you got to kind of climb in like a space capsule. So I'm never really comfortable in a car, but I certainly do like the trucks and the SUVs. This is a very comfortable truck.
Well, and for being a mid-size, I don't know, cars, I just feel like I'm so close to the ground. I'm like hovering over the ground. This feels like I'm decently in a pickup, so.
Yeah, and you just step in these, you don't climb down,
Yep.
you don't have to lay down in like a car. Floor it, Kelsey. Well, that sounded kind of throaty. But you get to higher RPMs.
She's noisy.
It's a noisy little rascal. The V6, and it, yeah, when you get to the higher RPMs, it whines pretty good. It's
Yeah, but that's the only noise there. That's the only sounds that I've heard out of this truck because it's a very quiet truck. It really is.
Yeah, and you only hear that higher RPMs. It
Yeah.
actually has a nice little growl at the lower RPMs, but if you're really climbing a hill, you're going to hear it.
Yeah. It's with that hill ascend or descend.
Yeah.
It helps you out on hills so you're not rolling back. That's nice.
Yeah, and you can do all this stuff off-road, and you can actually use the cruise control to lock it in how fast you want to go, and you can control the speed on it.
So it
It's
doesn't
actually
keep speeding up, going down.
Yeah, and you lock that in, and you can adjust it, and it's actually a fun off-road truck. Yeah, let's see. If you go to the base engine, it's 200 horsepower for the 2.5 four-cylinder. 305 for this engine. Is 3.6. Has forward collision alert and lane departure warning. It does have lane departure warning. I just got to figure out where it is on this. It's probably somewhere in the dial. It's got an 8-inch screen, which is pretty awesome. 13 standard tie-down locations.
That's nice if you are hauling something. That really is nice.
Yeah. OnStar 4G, yep. It's got 4 standard USB ports. This one has the factory bed liner, which I really like.
It tells you if you're speeding too.
Yeah, it is. You weren't speeding, were you, Kelsey?
I'm not speeding. I'm looking through the menu. Hopefully it makes some loud, obnoxious noise so somebody actually knows they're speeding.
Yeah. Well, it shows headroom is 41.4 inches. I've got room for a much bigger hat, so the headroom's no problem at all. Bed that you can get, the short one is 5'2", so you got a 5'2" and a 6'2".
Okay.
So like most of these, about a 5-foot bed on a crew cab, but this is a
yeah, but with a
larger truck.
5-foot bed, that 4-wheeler wouldn't fit.
Yeah, that's true. This,
so you're gonna have to be hauling.
And the cruise control on this, you have to push on the brake pretty hard to kick it off, which is, I thought, well, that's kind of odd, but it's really not odd, because a lot of times you'll just brake a little bit for traffic or turning people or those kind of things, but you didn't want to, shut the cruise off, and I like that, actually, so you got to hit it pretty hard. I'm on my way to Utah. I'm going to go to the Way Safe factory and watch them build those receiver hitches that have a scale built in for your tongue weight. You're doing your navigation, it's got a turn-by-turn navigation in your center stack where your gauges are, which is nice, so you don't have to look anywhere but straight ahead, straight down, because you've got that peripheral vision is up here, and if you start looking down too much, you'll lose that peripheral vision of what the cars around you are doing. Going through Wyoming now on I-80 in this GMC Canyon. It's doing very well. This is an all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. So when you put an all-wheel drive, it's kind of like an SUV. It will engage when the wheels slip in the front automatically. And which is very nice at highway speeds on ice and snow. which of course you don't drive the speed limit, you drive under the speed limit. But I'm here with all these semis on I-80. Quite an adventure. This truck is handled really well. It hasn't slipped. It hasn't spun. Of course, I pass people going downhill so that, you know, I don't lose traction, have a wheel spin. Because, you know, this is basically a rear-wheel drive truck, which means your right is your driver. That's what gives you traction. And the four-wheel drive system, your front left is a driver, so you're corner to corner for traction. And all-wheel drive, it's a little different. It just kind of senses it goes back and forth. Kind of like a power divider. We're zipping along about 50, got up to 60 on this interstate. Where the snow disappears right now, we're on a dry spot. A lot of ice and snow on the left side. But asphalt, actually, especially if you get a little sun out there, it melts snow pretty quickly. It's probably 25 degrees or less. You'll have asphalt melt in the snow. And it's cement. You got to be a lot warmer for cement to thaw out. That's the problem with driving on down the road is, you know, you go over an overpass, over a bridge, you got that cold air going underneath it, making it really cold, and then cement usually going across that bridge. And then you got the guardrails giving you shade, so you have all those things making it very dangerous on overpasses and bridges. You always want to let off the gas when you can, not in heavy traffic, so you don't let the wheel spin, because that's what causes the problems. If you get a wheel spin, you know, it'll actually steer you, and if that right rear starts spinning, you're going to be steered left. So you don't really want wheel spin if you're trying to maintain, you know, a steady speed on these roads. Went through Park City yesterday in Utah, and that's where the ski resorts are. And big snowstorm because you're way up in the air. And of course, going through Wyoming, all it takes a little bit of wind, and they'll start closing down the roads. The gates will drop, and you'll be stuck wherever town you're near. That hasn't happened to me yet on this trip. That's what Wyoming's famous for, is that wind. And if you've got snow on the ground, the kind of winds they get here, especially like around Elk Mountain, it'll blow snow across the road from a long ways away. This canyon's doing very well in this road conditions. I mean, like I say, all-wheel drive, automatic. I'm being very cautious how I brake. Trying to stay in the right lane as much as possible. Sometimes the semis, you don't have to go slower up these hills. You'll end up passing a few of them. Just got passed by a tanker a little bit ago pulling doubles. You won't see triples up here in Wyoming, but the doubles, and that's we know how long it'll take him to stop if something happens. And that's the biggest problem, is you don't have a very good brake distance on this surface. But it is interesting. For some reason, I always end up in Wyoming in the winter. I don't plan it that way. It just seems to work out. You know, we go through the Colorado Rockies in the winter, I-70, and that's a scary thing too. You got Vail Pass, and in the tunnels, getting up there, you know, 11,000 feet, high 10s at Vail Pass, 7% grades. It's real easy to spin on a slick surface. So it's always a choice when you live near Denver and you're going to go west, is which route to take and which pass will scare you to death. But yeah, it's less grades here in Wyoming, but it's just got the wind factor that can mess you up. And we're by the giant windmills now, and they're just barely moving, so much wind. The all-wheel drive system on this works really well. It's going to be fairly complicated, where you got a 2-speed transfer case and you can shift it directly through all-wheel drive. This is on the road bond this from yesterday behind a Camaro. You know, they're rear-wheel drive, and that poor lady, she was going sideways as much as she was straight. That's when I used to sell my Mustangs. I owned several Mustangs, but that's when I would sell them, is after a scary winter of going sideways up on ramps. Rear-wheel drive, it's just a different story. If you got a heavy enough car with traction control, it helps. But those muscle cars are not made for snow. It's amazing how fast these semis can go across these icy conditions, between 80,000 pounds. Some pretty good traction, but they can go side and sideways too. rained up, so you know it's not really bad conditions. Yeah, I'm liking the way this canyon's handling in the ice and the snow. It's actually doing really well. And an empty pickup can be a wild thing, you know, on slick surfaces. I'm throwing some weight back there, but there's newer traction control and electronic stability control, StabiliTrak as GM calls it, where the computer actually brakes left and right to steer you straight. Excuse me, and those things can all work well, but nothing works well at high speeds. So you know, it's all about being cautious, keeping your speed down. So if things happen, you have more time to react, more distance to brake. Across Wyoming, 100 miles between towns. As long as I don't daydream too much. Keep this puppy between the lines. Now we got some good roads here. They're just wet, they're not icy. 28 degrees. You know, just the fact that you're in icy conditions, snow and all, you can't use your cruise control. Because that'll definitely get you in trouble. Because I mean, it's ice. Your engine's at a higher RPM, it's going to spin on you. So you don't want to use cruise control in bad weather conditions on the road. And, you know, it's hard to do the 500-mile stretch without cruise control. I'm getting way too spoiled.